Ah, Dennis Gabor.
The man who decided that a flat photo was just too, well, flat. In 1947, he stumbled upon holography, which was a game changer. But let's be real, it wasn't until lasers came along that his vision got to strut its stuff. All this led to Gabor snagging a shiny Nobel Prize in 1971. Now that's what I call a bright idea, literally. Creating a hologram is like throwing a light party where lasers are the VIPs. You need to get them all synchronized to capture the groovy undulations of light around your objects. Unlike traditional photography, which is basically the one-hit wonder of viewpoints, holography is multidimensional, like the friend who can't just pick one dessert at a buffet. So, how do we wrap our heads around this holography magic? It's all about understanding the double trouble of light waves, amplitude and phase. These two elements are like Batman and Robin, working together to ensure we capture the complete light field surrounding an object. Without them, it's like trying to bake a cake without a recipe. Spoiler alert, it ends in disaster. Now, using a laser and a beam splitter is like having the right tools for an epic kitchen adventure. It keeps those light waves at the same frequency, allowing the object and reference waves to mix and mingle effectively, like a good batch of party punch. If they don't vibe, you might as well be serving water. But here's the catch, holography is as sensitive as a cat who hates bath time. Even the tiniest wiggle can drastically change your interference pattern. So if you plan on creating a hologram, channel your inner statue and stay still during exposure, unless you're trying to capture a moving masterpiece, which, let's be honest, usually ends in blurry regret. One of the coolest features of holography is how it can show you different perspectives from just a smidge of film. It's like having a best friend who can give you multiple angles on the same story, except in this case, you're actually seeing a whole scene, not just debating who took the last slice of pizza. When we think about light in holography, it's helpful to visualize it as these bouncing, oscillating vectors. This image not only aids our understanding but also makes us feel like we're superheroes battling complex optical phenomena. Who knew light waves could feel like the ultimate sidekick in our quest for knowledge? The exposure pattern we create has a chic appearance resembling those fancy concentric rings, dubbed Fresnel zones. These are crucial for figuring out the three-dimensional coordinates of points in our holographic wonderland. Think of it as light's way of saying, I've got your coordinates covered. So, when we reconstruct the hologram using just the reference wave, we dive into diffraction patterns. It's a bit like mixing colors, things get interesting. And you know, this isn't just random, it connects to other well-known optical phenomena, such as diffraction gratings. Talk about a light party. Interference patterns can sometimes feel like the universe is testing our math skills. Waves from slits can either get along in phase, or have a dramatic fallout, out of phase. This tug-of-war leads to bright and dark spots, which is basically Mother Nature's version of its complicated. Now, if you decide to jazz things up by changing the light's wavelength, buckle up. Shorter wavelengths will crank up the game, resulting in rapidly oscillating patterns between bright and dark spots. It's like light waves going through a midlife crisis, adjusting to stay relevant. To solve for the angle of light beams making their grand exit from multiple slits, we turn to a nifty formula that involves the spacing of the slits and the wavelength of light. This key math equation is like the secret recipe for constructive interference. Forget grandma's cookies, this is the real deal. Hold on to your hats as we dive into the different order beams, zeroth, first, and higher orders. It's like a light show with levels. This concept explains how light interacts with diffraction gratings to produce effects, making it sound a lot fancier than it really is. Who knew light could have so many personalities? And now let's talk about the critical relationship between wavelength and fringe spacing in holography. It's like a dance-off, without precise measurements, you'll trip over your own feet and ruin the entire performance. Accurate image reconstruction requires careful calibration, folks. Ever heard of the conjugate image phenomenon? It adds another layer of complexity to holography, illustrating how they can recreate light fields. And just like that roommate who leaves dirty dishes everywhere, this creates artifacts we have to manage. Welcome to the wonderful world of holograms, where not everything is as smooth as it seems. When we reconstruct holographic images, we rely on those interference patterns created by light waves interacting with various points in space, like social butterflies at a party. This interference is fundamental to recreating the original scene, ensuring we don't miss a single detail in this light extravaganza. And let's not forget about high-resolution film, it's the MVP for capturing those intricate holograms. You need a film that can resolve thousands of lines per millimeter. Anything less, and your hologram could end up looking like a pixelated disaster straight out of an 80s video game. In the fast lane of holography, advanced techniques allow us to capture dynamic images and impressive 3D models. This evolution from simple transmission to flashy, sophisticated applications is like watching your favorite retro game transform into a cutting-edge virtual reality experience.
We've come far, folks.
Gabor's Nobel Prize lecture is like the history book of holography. It's packed with context showcasing how this science has shaped modern imaging techniques. Understanding this journey helps us appreciate holography, like discovering the journey of an iconic band before their big break. Mathematics in holography, particularly with complex numbers, shines a light on the mechanics at play that let us create those amazing 3D images. Think of it as a high-tech recipe where each ingredient has to be just right, or the soufflé flops. Constructive and destructive interference in holography is like a duet between light waves creating images together. It's essential to grasp how holograms capture and reconstruct visual information. Without them, we're stuck with blurry visuals, and no one wants that, right? Now, understanding the algebraic limitations in holography tells us how important intuition derived from simpler concepts, like diffraction patterns, really is. It's like a light bulb moment, giving us a clearer view of the underlying principles and making that light show even more dazzling. Gabor's insights suggest that nature is cheering you on in your holography adventures. Even though understanding it can feel like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded, with proper analysis and exploration, those challenges can be tackled like the pros we aim to be. Finally, the takeaway here is that mastering holography means recognizing how light behaves in 3D space while influenced by its properties on a 2D boundary. It's a fascinating expansion of our comprehension of wave mechanics. Remember, folks, it's all about seeing the bigger picture, or in this case, the holographic one.